Welcome to Tinker Tailor Gamer Scribe. This is the second installment in the Finding Your Creative Outlet series. This episode's topic, drawing. There are a ton of ways to tackle this particular outlet, so while my friend Freedom Drudge does a bit of freestyle drawing, I will try to cover as much as I can of the basics, which I will simplify to two categories, monochromatic and color. But first, let me define what drawing is for the sake of this episode and help you understand the categories I chose. I'm going with this. Drawing. A picture or diagram made with a pencil, pen, or crayon rather than paint, especially one drawn in monochrome. The art or skill or making pictures or diagrams with a pencil, pen, or crayon. I would like to add that I am not including digital forms of drawing, as there is enough there to be its own FYCO. Now that the stage is set, we can get started. Monochrome, or one-color drawings, are as simple as it gets, at least as far as materials go. Just paper and a single utensil like a pen is all you need. Monochromatic drawing is utilized in many different areas and in lots of different ways. Foremost among them is illustration and drafting. As illustration is to art, drafting is to science and engineering. Blueprints, schematics, maps, and technical designs. The kind of drawing I can do. Kind of. The main concept behind an illustration and draft is pretty much the same. You have an image in your mind and you put it on paper. The application, however, is a bit different. Drafting is mechanical precision. Illustration is more of an organic finesse. Drafting, if not done digitally, usually has some accompanying tools beyond just pencil and paper. Compass, ruler, protractor, and triangles are just some of the devices in the drafting toolkit. These tools and utensils together allow the engineer to draw an exact scale mock-up of pretty much anything. Of course, drafting is not limited to scale design. Circuit diagrams use symbols to explain the sometimes very complicated mapping of electrical circuits, like microchips, or simpler circuits like the electrical layout of a battery-powered light with a switch. Electrical circuits can be very small and immensely elaborate. Because of this, circuit diagrams are not an exact scale representation of an actual circuit, but they are very important as a readable map and explanation of how the circuit works. Architectural drafts, or blueprints as they are more commonly known, are used as the base plan for building structures like a home or an aircraft hangar. Scale can be important in some architectural blueprints, but usually measurements are included on the blueprints if they are needed, as shown here. Like I had said earlier, drafting is the type of drawing I do. You see, as a creator, I am definitely more engineer and less artist, so my drawing ability starts and ends there. The more commonly seen form of monochromatic drawing is illustration. Though it is not limited to monochrome, there are lots of applications for one-color illustrations. Take manga, for example. The vast majority of manga is drawn in monochrome. This is usually done in a two-part process of penciling and inking. Penciling is done first and it covers the actual content of the picture, the characters, items, and environments. It is done in pencil so changes can be made without having to start the entire piece over. It also allows for the correction of errors. When a piece is finalized in pencil, it can then be inked. Inking is the process that solidifies the illustration. Inks tend to be very vibrant and/or deep and are color consistent whether it is applied lightly or thickly. Ink is applied over the pencil, but it is far from just tracing. Inking enhances the penciling, giving it depth, intensity, and character, as you can see here. Most noticeably, inking makes an illustration true monochrome, since, unlike the pencil, ink cannot be lightened or darkened by changes in hand pressure or multiple applications. Of course, manga is only one example. Storyboarding is commonly done in a single color, as are fashion sketches. Even painters will do a rough drawing of their painting before they apply paint. Monochromatic drawing is only one part of drawing as a concept. There is also drawing in color, or with color, whichever you prefer. In general, drawing with color is a step further in progression from the manga example made earlier. As you can see here, this page was first penciled, then inked, and finally colored. Keep in mind that a colored drawing just means that more than one color is used on the canvas or paper. This is just as much a colored drawing as this. As far as I've been able to surmise, the color of the paper itself is not included in the total. All that said, there are many ways to draw in color that can step away from the pencil ink color pattern completely. As you can see from those last few examples, color drawings can be as simple or as detailed as one can imagine. In fact, imagination is the only real limitation to what someone can draw. The number of different types of drawing utensils is pretty impressive. Way too many to try and cover in a basic primer like this. This list only scratches the surface. The most common types of utensils for color would probably be markers, colored pencils, crayons, and pastels. Each one works in a different way. One might blend better or easier, while another may layer more smoothly. The properties of one of them can vary significantly from another as well. Pardon the terminology here. I am positive I will use the wrong terms for the descriptions in this next bit. Pastels come in two forms, soft pastels and oil pastels. They have a few different form factors that can come in, be it a stick form or a pencil form, but the important thing is how they behave on paper. Soft pastels act like chalk when used, where oil pastels act more like lip liner or a firm oil paint. Crayons are familiar to pretty much everyone. The sticks of color-infused wax you likely used as a child to draw something like this. And you could use those same wax sticks to draw something like this. Colored pencils are my personal favorite. They do all of the things that a regular pencil can do, but with all the colors of the rainbow. They blend well with others and have a wide range of color quality. The last of the types I will be covering in this video is markers. The primary difference between markers and the other utensils I've mentioned is that markers use a thin ink that can actually penetrate the fibers of paper, where the others merely cling to surface fibers. This gives marker drawings a textured finish as it continues to feel like the paper it was drawn onto. Also, once dry, markers are less likely to need a fixing agent. Please keep in mind that these recommendations come from me and not a seasoned plier of the drawing trade. That said, I don't believe the following are bad suggestions, but you may want to do some looking into what some actual artists have to say. Let's start with the basics. I would say start with a normal number 2 pencil, a sharpener for the pencil, a big eraser, and some plain printer paper. This is the least expensive way to jump in to see if drawing is something you might enjoy. With those items on hand, just try drawing things that interest you. Pull things from memory, draw items in your home, or from photos. You may or may not want to invest in a mechanical pencil. I highly recommend one for drafting, for their advantage over traditional pencils is to never really lose their tip, allowing for consistent, accurate lines. Next would probably be a good inking pen. I sadly don't know much about them, but I bet the internet has plenty of recommendations for good, fair-priced ones. If you want to jump into color, I would go with colored pencils first, since they behave similarly to graphite pencils. Plus, they are usually a less expensive way to add color to your work. Once you have an idea of the medium you like to draw with, you can also test different kinds of paper. There are many options available, and they all behave a bit differently. You might even find a variety specifically designed for the utensils you favor. Those of you looking into drafting, or illustrating for that matter, should consider the basic drafting tools. You never know what might come in handy. After that, it's just a matter of playing with techniques and expanding your capabilities, both of which will come with time, patience, and practice. So to conclude, drawing is a very important form of creativity, not just for its own artistic merit, but for one simple thing. Virtually all of the tactile forms of creation use drawing at one point or another. Drawing has even been a form of communication used ages ago and today. We all know at least one person who can't tell a story from beginning to end without grabbing a napkin or something so they can literally illustrate their point. Fashion designers, engineers, screenplay writers, painters, video game developers, architects, all of them use drawings as an integral part of what they do. Should this become your chosen creative outlet, you should remember a few simple things. Number one, don't worry about your drawings being good or not. Good, bad, and other descriptors are totally subjective and totally irrelevant. What is important is one, if not both, of these two questions. Does it meet the goal you had in mind for it? And/or did you enjoy making it? Number two, don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Creative outlets are a form of expression, and I can never say enough how vital expression is. By pushing yourself to try a new type of utensil or to draw something more complex than you have before, you increase and enrich your ability to express yourself. When you challenge yourself, you improve. Even if your self-challenge was more than you could handle right then, you learn from it. And when you make that challenge again, you know you will be ready for it. And number three, there is a massive community of people that are willing to help you. You are not alone. And the best way that I've found to learn and improve, other than just doing it myself, is by tapping into the experiences of other creators. They can give you tips and tricks, constructive criticism, advice, or just stories of their own adventures and misadventures in drawing. Creators in general like to help each other out, even if all they're doing is acting as a diversion for you while you figure out your next move. That's pretty much all I got for this installment of Finding Your Creative Outlet. I want to thank Freedom for making this awesome illustration. Links where you can find him and his work will be in the YouTube description. I will also include links to all of the art I used as visual references as well, and recommend that you check them out. It will give you a chance to see some of the different ways other people express themselves. Maybe you will find your favorite method for expressing yourself. Until next time.